Jonathan Winston Howard, Australia's 25th and longest-serving Prime Minister since the great Sir Robert Menzies. A man of great strength and leadership, and inspiration to an entire generation. But for many Australians, Howard remains a man of mystery. Just who exactly is this incredible man? This is what the academic world has to say about our brave leader.
John Howard, above all, is a political animal. He thinks, breathes and lives politics. He's the Energizer Bunny of Australian politics, and if you think about those morning walks with television crews in tow, with him powering along through different parts of the world, you might see that he tries to present himself as tireless and as fit and on top of the job.
Classic product of the 50s, somebody who in love with cricket and in love with the Menzies era. His whole orientation is towards the royal family, the British connection. He's a classic Anglo-Australian, right from the core culture of this country.
He leads a very united team, and he disciplines them. If there's any trouble in the ranks, he pounces on it pretty quickly. He's got a very efficient team of lieutenants, his attack dogs, Costello and Abbott, for example. He makes good use of women talent in the Senate, particularly the female senators. He's also very determined, the fact that he's been in politics since 1974 and he's had to claw his way to the top. He's in charge of everything, and he's underwritten by a very strong economic performance over the last 15 to 20 years.
In 1975, under the triumphant victory of Malcolm Fraser, Howard was chosen as the Minister for Business and Consumer Affairs. 2 years later, Howard, in the position of Treasurer, is given the name of the Boy Treasurer by his many admirers, many of them pubescent women, hungry for his affection. But in 1983, the Australian people committed the ultimate betrayal that would harm the nation for 13 years. They elected a Labor government.
Well, he doesn't give up, he persists, and really by default, because there are no others, he gets the nod. And I think at the time he gets elected by his own backbench to lead the Liberal Party, there's not a real expectation that he's going to succeed, but he does, and he wins the 1996 election.
The same year, he sadly endorsed former Liberal member Pauline Hanson's brave comments against the Asian invaders.
Most of the people who were attracted to Hanson were no more racist than you or I.
I and most Australians want our immigration policy radically reviewed and that of multiculturalism abolished.
Yeah.
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians.
In 1988, the Liberal Party was becoming aware of some of these xenophobic attitudes in a blue-collar Labor constituency, which it wanted to win over from the Labor Party. And he's clearly been trying to play to that constituency, which Pauline Hanson tapped into in the late 1990s.
Howard didn't create Australian racism. It was there before Howard.
Keep them out. Keep all the niggers out. Japs and everybody. Why? Well, we don't want them.
And when Australia was formed in 1901 to 1972, this was an explicitly racist country. It had a white Australia policy. This country was legally and explicitly racist.
Furthermore, our beloved commander refused to apologise to Aboriginal Negroes, showing them just who's boss.
Howard's refusal to apologise for the stolen children is consistent with his disinterest in that kind of symbolic grand politics. That's not his game.
He doesn't see them as a particularly significant part of the Australian political landscape.
Take that, Blackie. In 2001, the Norwegian ship Tampa dared to threaten our national security. The ship contained a large number of illegal non-whites, among them ethnics of terrorist descent.
It will not be given permission to land either at Christmas Island or somewhere else in Australia.
When refused entry, the savages respond by throwing their own children into the sea. How un-Australian.
I certainly don't want people of that type in Australia.
John Howard's management of the crisis captured the imagination of all Australians, and his leadership was reaffirmed in the election only weeks later.
We believe it to be in our national interest that we send a signal that we are no longer a country of easy destination.
Howard's approach to refugee and immigration policy is essentially poll-driven. This Prime Minister, more than most, has monitored public opinion carefully. The Liberal Party does quite extensive focus group and opinion polling. And Howard uses that as a prism through which to approach political issues.
Look, what I'm saying is that people remember of that period that I stopped the boats.
On September 11th, 2001, the world changed forever by the horrific attacks of the World Trade Centers in New York. our leader joined the United States in revenge attacks to bring those responsible to justice. In 2002, Australia was devastated by a terrorist attack on the Indonesian island of Bali. The attack claimed a total of 88 Australian lives. We were reminded again that terrorism can strike anywhere, anytime, unprovoked and undisturbed. It must be fought against to the last breath, even if it means bombing women and children into a fine pink mist. That's the cost of freedom. This is exactly what we did in 2003. In tune with the glorious Anzac spirit, our distinguished commander led Australia to Iraq to fight alongside our American allies against high petrol prices. John Howard created a strong bond with George W. Bush, two great leaders of the free world fighting for freedom and democracy in the face of the commie terrorist threat. And just how were they able to do this? By privatizing public assets such as Telstra and Medicare, and with your tax money, they're able to take the fight to the enemy, destroying the field it works, the school it teaches in, the hospital it treats its injured, and the house in which it lives. And thanks to superior American technology and firepower, we're able to exterminate thousands of terrorists with great efficiency with little to no human cost. Ah yes, but it's not all fun and games. We must also be aware of the threat within. Every Australian citizen must keep on the lookout against the terrorist threat. The enemy is cunning and disguises himself in many forms. Take this merchant for example. Is he just a merchant? Or something more sinister? After a strict routine of interrogation, the man confesses to be an Arab spy and swiftly extradited to Guantanamo Bay for further examination. Yes, huge progress is made, but let us not become comfortable in the face of communist aggression. The battle is not over just yet. We'll continue to fight the good fight alongside our braver leader. And let it be John Winston Howard who will lead Australia into the future. Only he can deal with the problems of the space age, intergalactic diplomacy, and alien immigration.